Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to make this wending machine for food, cakes and breads and stuff like that, sandwich. And we are going to make the machine first that is 3D printed, and then we are going to make the breads and these small cakes that I have in here. This one has a cord because the real ones had light and of course some cooling on there so that the food would not go bad. Anyway, I designed this one and it's upside down, sorry about that. It is a two-piece furniture, so you have the front piece and you have the back with where you put your bread in there. You could put candy in it or stuff like that. There's a small hole on the side for the cord, and they were also used for candy and stuff like that. I know some places they still have vending machines like these. We don't have many of these in Denmark anymore. So I'm starting with my black acrylic paint. This is my Vallejo model color, and I don't need much. I just have these pieces here. I don't know if you can see it, but the coin toss here is open on the back side, and so is this little coin outlet down here. So I am going to go in here and paint this side piece here black. Also, if you can see it through when this has been glued on there, you don't want to see the white in here, so that's also a reason for me to paint this inside piece here. Oops, and I got it into that little part there. We don't want it there. In here. Now I got it everywhere. We really don't want the black on the inside of these boxes here. There we go, I got it out. But I am going to paint this little piece over here. See if I can do it without getting into the boxes again. So be careful and mindful of that if you do this one. And they were white on the inside as they were small refrigerator compartments, so make sure they still are white. And then I am going to leave this to dry before I continue. So the black paint is all dry, and I am bringing in a piece of paper tissue here, and then I have my liquid silver paint. This is really hard to get out of your paintbrushes, so now you know. But it has a really nice silvery touch on things. So I am going to make sure I don't get silver into the white rooms there. But I'm gonna paint everything here silver. So this is the front plate. And I of course take my time with this. I have a hair right there. Let's get rid of that. There we go. I didn't get that hair off. There we are. Got it. Or maybe just some of it. Yeah. I'm not sure where that hair come from. Oh well. Let's color this outer edge here first. Again, we don't want it down into the white holes in this part here. Just right there. And I'm gonna catch it in the holes, and then I'm gonna paint everything with my silver paint here. Bottom, top, back sides, everywhere. And you might have to give this one two times of the silver paint. Or you could paint the whole thing black before you paint it silver. That will also give a nice result. But I think this will look pretty neat when it's done anyway. Making sure I have everything covered here. I need a tiny bit here. There we go. I like that. And I'm gonna place it head down. And then I'm just gonna leave it to dry, and if it needs one more time, I am gonna do that off camera. So the painting here is almost done. I need a few details here. But we need some glass in the front, and I have a warm laminating pocket here that I'm gonna use, and I can just place my little piece here on top of it and then just cut out so that it fits this piece here. There we go. So that should be fitting all together. It is. Otherwise, you just make sure to cut so it fits perfectly. I actually think I'm going to take just a tiny bit here on the side of this. You can use some translucent packaging plastic as well for this. Let's put that to the side. So I'm going to take my tacky glue, and I am going to pop some glue on this piece here. Don't put too much. You don't want it to ooze out, but you want it to securely secure your plastic piece so that you have plastic or glass in these pieces here. We don't put these together before we have the rest of this. Let me put this to the side. Then I have a piece of a miniature wire, and I have my plugs here. Sorry, I'm not showing how I make these because these are kind of my special part. But there's a lot of ways to make plugs out there. So I'm just popping a tiny bit of tacky glue on that wire and popping it into the plug. Turning my machine here on the side and popping the cord or the wire into that little hole with the glue here. So the machine itself is almost done. I need a tiny bit of some detailings, so I am going to take my detail brush, let's see if I can get it here, and my black paint, and I'm gonna just pop a tiny bit of black in there because I don't need much. Then I am going to take my detail brush and I am, whoops, and I'm coloring this little piece here all black. Because that's where our prize for the food will go. There we go. I think I have a little bit of the corner here. Yeah. There we go. I'm going to pop in a tiny bit of water to my black paint, because this will make a nice wash that I can use for the twine cause and these pieces here. So I'm just popping a tiny, I actually need a little more clean water here so that I can make it a little more less colored here. I just want it to be kind of a shadow giving black. So this up here is actually a keyhole to open the whole front of the machine, so the owner can put in new food when it's empty. Or if it is getting too old, but I don't think that was a problem at that time. And here we have, that's the coin toss up here, and here the coins comes out if you have too many in there or if they're not working. And this down here is kind of a little draw actually, where the chains were falling down, the small coins, and then you could just unlock it and then open it up as a little drawer, and there would be all the coins for the food or the candy or whatever you had in your machine that you got rid of or sold. I think that's a better word for it. So I'm just giving it a tiny bit of this aging thingy here and there. I'm not overdoing it because I don't want this one to look just as old as the other one. So I'm just popping in a tiny bit here and there. So if you want more, you can of course do more. Oops, that was a little bold. There we go, that's better. So I like that, and you can always, of course, pop a little on the side of it. And then just dab it off if it's too much. Again, I don't want this one to look too old. But you can pop as much on here or as little on here as you feel like. Now I'm going to put this to the side, these two parts here. We're not going to glue this together before we have the food that can be on the shelves. So I am going to place this to the sides, and then we are going to work with the polymer clay. Let's go over to voiceover, because that's easier when my husband is home. I have made this bread in another video, and I am going to link the video for that in the info box below. The same with my tomatoes, my onions, and my mushrooms that I'm going to use for these toast pieces here. And I'm going to use a tiny bit of my Bacon Bond to collect everything. I rolled out a tiny piece of a light yellowed colored clay on a setting, I think it was a 7 or an 8, because I wanted this really thin, as this is our cheese. And now I'm just going to cut out a piece of this in a square, so that I have a square for one of these. I want 3 sandwiches for my vending machine. I already did one of them, so I am just taking 4 pieces of bread here for the next 2 of them. And then I am slicing my cheese, and I am using a tiny bit of Bacon Bond because my bread slices have already been baked. And if I put the baked clay together with the unbaked clay, it will not stick together. And the Bacon Bond makes sure that you do get some kind of gluing effect, so everything will stick together when you're all done. And then I'm just going to place my cheese on top of that. Then I rolled out some light green colored clay again on this thinnest setting on my pasta machine, and I'm going to use this for some salad. And I'm just taking a tiny bit of it and breaking that off, and then I'm giving it a little bit of texture with a dotting tool on this little jelly plate that I have here. And then I'm just gonna take this little piece of salad and I am placing it onto my cheese. I'm not putting too much on there because I don't want it to be too thick, the whole sandwich, so that it won't be able to go into the small compartments of the vending machine. So just keep that in mind. You don't want these to be too thick because they need to be able to go into the machine. And I'm doing the salad here on both of my pieces of bread. Then I have this meaty brown colored clay. I forgot the name of it, but I'm scratching off small pieces of this brownish color and placing that on top of my salad. And then it looks like some chopped up meat or some roast beef or something like that, and you don't want to see much of it anyway, so just pop a tiny bit of it on there. And I'm placing it on one side of the bread because when I pop the other piece of bread on top of it, you won't see much on the inside anyway. I decided for some of my red onion on this one, so I'm taking out a few pieces of this and I am dipping that into my Bacon Bond before I place it on my toast. This way again it will stay in place when it's baked, not toasted, but baked. So I'm doing this on one of these. I have a tomato in the one that I already did, and I am going to pop in some mushrooms on the last one. I also make sure that there is Bacon Bond on my top piece of bread so that everything will hold together after it has been baked. And now I'm just popping on the bread here. This was the one with the mushrooms in there. And then I'm just popping the lid on the other one as well. And these 3 are ready to be baked. So for my pastry, I am going to take a dough colored clay, and I am going to cut out a triangular shape, and then I'm just carefully rolling that between my fingers from the big end here till the smaller end. And I'm just gonna work on it, and I'm gonna give it some textures and really work on it for as long as I need until I have the shape of this pastry that I wanted to. I did this a long time ago, so I have a mold to do these in. I just wanted to show you quickly how I did this. Bake this one, and then you can make a mold of it, and you can make as many you want to. When you have made a mold, you just take your clay and you fill up one of these holes for your little breads, and you make sure that it is all pushed in there, the clay, and then you just cut off the excess just like this and make sure everything is nice and leveled. I did go in and give the bottom part of these small cakes or croissants or pastry or whatever you call it, I gave the bottom of it a little texture, and I did that with a piece of a peppercorn. And then you can leave them for 5-6 minutes and then pop them out. I want 3 of the shelves or units in the vending machines to have pastry, so I made 6 of these, and now I am using a light brown colored soft pastel, just using my fingers to wipe the color from the soft pastel and then transfer it to my baked goods here to make it a little more real looking. And when I'm ready with the light brown, I am going over to a more darker reddish brown color to do the same with. I have some pre-made icing. This is just fimo liquid with a tiny bit of white clay in there that I just mixed and mixed until I got this paste-like thing. And this paste is actually a tiny bit too thick for me. I should have mixed a tiny bit of fimo liquid in there to make sure it was still nice and soft, but I was too lazy. And I wanted it to be able to be placed on these pastries so it looked a little more like the real icing, so that's why I didn't do it. And it was a little hard to do the smearing out onto the pastry thingy here. I made 2 with the white icing on top. Then I mixed a tiny bit of my soft pastel, this dark brown, into that mixture of the fimo liquid and the white clay to make it like a chocolatey icing or a chocolate thingy that you could put on. And I'm just using this to make 2 croissants or 2 of these pastries with the chocolate on top, and the rest of these, the last 2, I'm just leaving them as is. And when I'm ready with this, I'm baking everything so that I can put it into my vending machine. And here we are, everything is all done and ready. So now I am using my super glue gel, giving these pieces of bread a tiny bit of super glue on the bottom, and I'm placing them in on the shelf where I want them, making sure it is lying just as I want them. And then I'm popping in pastry in the next one here, again glued in. I am leaving 2 of these drawers or compartment empty, and I'm doing that because I want it to look like someone already took something out of this little machine. I skipped a tiny bit of me gluing in these pieces because it took me quite some time to put it in there, and it really doesn't show good on camera that I put them in there and how I did, so sorry about that. But glue them in so that it will look good when you're looking into these small compartments. Let's put this to the side while it is hardening, and I want to do the last detail on the front here. I have these small rings, or small, I don't know what they're called, but you normally when you're making bracelets and stuff like that, you put them on the string and then you squeeze them together so that to stop the bead from falling off or whatever you use them to, like that. But they're kind of small clasps or something like that, but they are small tiny round rings, and they just fit perfectly here on the front, like small handles on the front door, the one that you take and pull the door open when you take out the pastry you want. So I'm just gluing them on there to make it look really, really nice. And then I am using my white Jelly Roll 005 for writing the price for one of these compartments. And at that time where these were popular in Denmark, it was 3 crowns for one piece, so that's what I wrote here, 3 crowns. And now we just take this piece and glue everything together. I am using my super glue gel here, and I also use a tiny bit of my tacky glue because these two together make an instant bond and it is really sticking on there, so that's what I'm doing. And that is all for this little craft today. I hope you enjoyed this, even though that it was a little longer video, but I had a lot of fun making this one, so I hope you enjoyed it. I will say thank you for today, and I will see you next week. Love you all, and thank you for watching my videos. So happy crafting.